So yeah, really wonderful to see you all again, and thanks for coming. And we've got my friend Amoka Vajra here again this week. He was here the first week, and he's had a spinal cord injury for a very long time and meditated for a very long time. So again, he's a real expert in the material that we're talking about. You know, how to train our minds to support us in our lives rather than having minds that perhaps trip us up. Which is very common, of course. So let me just briefly recap what we've done so far. So this whole course is mindfulness techniques for pain, and it applies to any sort of difficulty. I hope you're realizing that. And the first week, we learned how to separate our experience of pain into two components, what we call the primary, which is the unpleasant experience in the moment, and the secondary, which is all the layers of reactivity we so quickly pile onto that very often makes our pain or our suffering worse. And I introduce this idea that we can learn to let go of the secondary and to accept with greater ease whatever's primary in any given moment. And then last week, we looked at using breath awareness to release tension, and we did some meditation about learning how to breathe into the areas of pain and to release on the out breath. And I think many of you found that helpful. Today, we're going to be grappling with the fascinating area of thoughts. We're all having thoughts all the time, and our thoughts can be very, very sort of sabotaging, or we can learn to change our relationship to our thinking so it's more supportive. And then next week, we're going to look at pacing, how to manage our energy. And then finally, we're going to be summing up and looking at how we can change our reactions to things. Good. Okay, so I thought what we'd do is start with a little practice just to kind of do a recap. So we'll start with a breathing meditation like we did last week, just quite briefly. And then I'll move on to the thinking topic. Just move that out of the way. Good. Okay, so if we settle into our position, just choosing a way for the body to be positioned. That's going to be as comfortable as possible. I know for most of us, comfort isn't an option, but as comfortable as possible. So just really thinking about how to position the body, having the hands supported if that's possible. Closing the eyes if you want to, or else lowering the gaze. And having a sense of arriving in the here and now, in the present, and in the body. So allowing our experience into awareness. And if we've got pain or discomfort right now, just noticing, are you tensing against it? Is there a quality of fighting with the pain? If there is, you could choose to breathe into that area and then to release and let go a little bit more with each out breath. So rather than being caught up in a tense state of resistance and fighting and struggle, we're using the breath to unwind some of that tension. Just see if we can soften a little bit around the breathing within our capacity, depending on our body. And seeing if we can bring a caring attitude towards ourselves. Thinking about how you naturally respond to a loved one when they're struggling. And seeing if you can bring this attitude towards yourself. And noticing the way experience is changing. That we ever only experience our pain or our difficulty one moment at a time. And it's never exactly the same one moment to the next. So allowing ourselves to arrive in the present moment a little more deeply. Good. So now let's bring this little practice to a close, perhaps forming an intention to take this quality of awareness with us into the rest of the class. I saw Liz there just moving her jaw a little bit. If you notice any kind of gripping in the jaw, the mouth, the eyes, perhaps just softening a little bit, maybe yawning a little bit. Ah. Just got to blow my nose. Right. Yeah, so does anyone want to share what you noticed in that practice? Do you feel any different having just spent those few moments settling and arriving a little bit? Just unmute if you want to say anything.
I got a COVID shot on Saturday, and well, for the last few days I felt like a little, I didn't even notice it right after, and it doesn't bother me to get shots. And I was very, very grateful to get my 6th COVID shot so far, but then by Sunday I felt like I got a shot in my neck. I got it in this arm, but this side of my neck is where more damage is, inside my cervical spine, and it was bothering me a lot. But anyway, by today it was a lot better, and down my arm was hurting. But just now when I did this, yes, it did help with those parts of my neck and my arm that bothering me before. But all in all, I'm pretty sure that my attitude towards COVID shots is way helpful to me. I'm just incredibly amazed and grateful at how fast they came out. I trust them. I don't think these people are nuts that invented them. They're serious scientists, and it got approved faster than expected, and I'm glad. And that's not what I hear from a lot of people, but people who have COVID usually say it's better to get the shots.
Yeah. So when you were in the meditation, then did you notice some of that sort of discomfort easing a little bit just by bringing your awareness to it and the breath to it? Good. That's really good. Yeah. Good. Okay. So, sorry.
I was going to say, I have a habit without even realizing that I'm squeezing my teeth together hard. So I was conscientious of that while we're like, loosen your mouth up. Don't hold it so tight.
And what was the effect of that on your overall sort of feeling as you released in the jaw?
Oh, way better. way better. And I'm going to try to like remind myself like throughout the day when I'm working and doing things, like just relax your mouth. You don't need to.
Good. And that's so the mindfulness is to remember,
right,
to come into the present, and then you notice the gripping, and then you have this choice. You can think, well, I can keep on clenching my teeth, or I can release, and then gradually that becomes a positive habit. That becomes a habit to come back and release, come back and release. Yeah. And you could also, if you wanted, you could do something like use a timer on your phone. Every 30 minutes, timer goes off, and just check in on your jaw.
Yeah. Have I been relaxing or am I?
Yeah.
You know, because you do it without even thinking about it. Because, you know, when I'm working or doing things, my subconscious is like thinking. It's almost like two brains at the same time. Yeah.
So mindfulness helps us to change our habits.
Right.
And so over time, we just become a little softer, a little bit more at ease. So that's good. Yeah.
Well, thanks for making me aware of that.
Good. Okay, so what we're going to do now is move on to investigate the thinking mind. So we're going to do another little practice now and another little meditation. I'm going to ask you to be aware of your thoughts, but I'll guide you on this. So it'll just be a few moments. Okay, good. So we settle back into our position again, relaxing the jaw. That's what you need to do. Softening. Coming into the present. Being aware of the body. Breathing. And now let's become aware of the thinking mind. Many people think that when we meditate, we shouldn't think, or we should have a blank mind. But it's really normal to think. It's what the mind does. But we can learn to be aware of our thoughts. We don't have to be completely lost in our thoughts. So let's just be really curious right now. What thoughts are flowing through the mind? Get curious. And see if you can be interested in your thinking mind rather than judging your thinking mind. Okay, so let's bring that to a close. Open the eyes again. Good. So, Mokavajra, I wonder if you're willing to share what thoughts you noticed flowing through the mind just then.
Well, yeah, there's quite a few. First of all, it was really nice to sit quietly because I've had a busy few days, and I'm going away on Sunday. And so there's lots of thoughts. What do I need to pack for my journey to go away? And then I was thinking, oh, I'm thinking, I don't want to be thinking, I want to just have a quiet space. So just coming back to my body. And I think when I do that, I try and take my awareness down into my belly, really down, it helps to center me. And then something else would crop up that would take me away. So there was somebody that I need to phone. So I was remembering I needed to phone Eric. I was thinking, oh yeah, I need to phone Eric. But so I was caught up in that, why I need to phone him and why did he phone me, and then I think, oh, but do I really want to think? I was not really like to have a quiet space. So that thought, just that possibility of the quiet space takes me back to my body, and yeah, trying to find the breath in my body. So although I've got quite a high level of a break, I've still got some kind of sensibility down in my abdomen. So I try and look for that and aware of, yeah, the rise and fall of my breath, just those senses. Yeah, and then there was a car went past, and of course my mind went straight to the car. And then I'm trying to picture what kind of car was it. Was it a white car or a blue car? And anyway, so then the car, yeah. Then I come back to my breath, and then you finish it. And then I've been partly aware of my breath and body, and partly aware of thinking and different thoughts that have been going on.
It's so interesting, the car one, isn't it? That you hear a sound and then the mind fills it all in. You know, is it white? Is it blue? Where's it going? So interesting. But then, you know, you've exemplified, you notice the thinking, and then in the noticing, we have this choice. Do we continue, or do we just come back to the moment, the body and the breath? Yeah, very good. Thank you. So Liz, how about you? Did you have any thoughts? Per chance.
Yeah. It's hard not to have thoughts. I think the point that you're making is that we have them, and we can, I mean, one of the things I was taught many years ago was to notice the tip of my nose. So we just heard, you know, noticing the belly. And so when I have a thought about, I also am going on a trip, so I have a constant list going through my head, things popping up. Oh, I forgot to put on the list that I've got to go get the, you know, that medication that's over in the whatever. And, you know, you have a whole little story. And the thing that I try to do is notice the cool air going in my nose when I inhale. So that is where I try to go back to and try to let the thoughts go, and also try not to be hard on myself. Like, oh, stop thinking, don't do that. I try to not, and then that's a thought. So there's a thought on top of a thought of telling myself to not do the thinking and just let all of that go and try to notice that cool air on the tip of my nose. So anyhow, that's what I was trying to do.
Yeah, very good. So you had thoughts about going away, packing lists, all these kind of things. But you were aware of that, and you used the choice that we get with awareness to come back to the sensations at the tip of your nose. And with both Amoghavajra and yourself, you're coming back to sensations in the body, which is always in the present, because the only time we can actually feel the air or the breath is now. Past breath is a memory, future breath is an idea. So coming back to the body is a way of anchoring us back in the present, because a lot of our thoughts are either future oriented or past oriented when you think about it. You know, often we're running into the future, or we're thinking about the past. But the sensations in the body is in the here and now. Good. So, okay. So I'm going to tell you just a few things about thinking now that you may find reassuring if you find that you have a very active mind. So the first thing is that it's completely normal to think in meditation. That's a very, very important point, because people do have some funny ideas about meditation, that you're only a good meditator if you have a blank mind, for example. But it's completely normal for the mind to produce thoughts. It's a bit like, you know, the eye sees objects, the ear hears things, and the mind thinks things in a very similar way. And the scientists say that we have something like 30,000 to 70,000 thoughts a day. So we're having a lot of thoughts. And if you do the maths, if you have, some psychologists say that the psychological present is 3 seconds. And if you have one thought every 3 seconds, that's something like 28,000 thoughts a day. Now, I know when my mind's very active, I'm having way more than one thought every 3 seconds. They can really tumble in, can't they? You have many, many thoughts all jostling around. So I think 30,000 to 70,000 is probably quite accurate. And what's really interesting is in the untrained mind, someone who hasn't learned to work with their thoughts and train their thoughts in the way that we're doing here, something like 75% of those thoughts are negative, which is very, very interesting, isn't it? And of course, when I talk about thoughts, I'm also talking about associated emotions, because most thoughts have some kind of emotional content. So roughly 3/4 of our thoughts have got a negative tinge. So if you find yourself assailed by a lot of negative thoughts, you're normal. It doesn't mean that you're a bad person or you're doing something wrong. And it's to do with our evolution, that the way we've learned to survive and thrive as a species is by being very threat oriented. So we're very, very good at noticing things that are dangerous and noticing things that are threatening. And maybe that was useful when we had saber-toothed tigers wandering about trying to eat us. But in the modern world, we don't have saber-toothed tigers. And apparently, again, the psychologists say that the biggest threat we have now, or what the brain perceives as social threat. So we're very, very concerned about what other people think of us. And we're bombarded by communication. Social media can bring out a lot of social threat, and we get very anxious about how we're perceived and so on. So that's interesting. A lot of this kind of threat orientation as in the modern world is around sort of social engagement, social interaction. But nonetheless, we have these brains that are wired up to notice things that are tricky and then to ruminate and just go over and over and over again the same thing. So some of the scientists call it, we've got a brain that's Velcro for difficult thoughts and Teflon for pleasant, creative thoughts. They just slide off, and the difficult thoughts just stick like glue, like Velcro. So that's interesting, isn't it? And then even more amazingly, more than 95% of our thoughts we've had before. So basically, we're just recycling the same old negative rubbish. Yeah, does that ring true? Yeah, people nodding out there. So if you find yourself assailed by repetitive negative thinking, this is just the nature of the human mind. But the really great news is that we can change that with training, and with mindfulness and meditation. It's really good to see it as mind training. And all of us here, we've all got injuries and disabilities, and we're very used to training. We're used to physical training and physio and exercises and all these sorts of things. We know, we need to look after our bodies by training and doing our exercises. But in the modern world, for some reason, I really don't know why this is, we've really neglected mind training. In some cultures, in some Eastern cultures, it's very much, it's just a normal part of the way things are. But in our society, mind training has been neglected. So the sort of things we're doing here is to strengthen the mind and train the mind. So in terms of thoughts and emotions, we can do this by the sort of things that both Mogavajra and Liz were exemplifying before. You notice your thoughts, and then you change your relationship to your thoughts. You let go of being so hooked into your thoughts, and you simply come back to your present moment experience. So I'm going to demonstrate now different ways of working with thoughts. Yeah, I've got a little friend here. So this is my thought. And it's a monkey, and a very traditional image for the mind is what's called monkey mind. So you've got a mind that's just jumping around the place, chasing after thoughts, just like a monkey chases after bananas in a tree or whatever monkeys do. But they sort of jump around chasing things. So let's imagine that I'm meditating. So I'm the meditator. And maybe I've got this idea that I don't like my thoughts and I shouldn't be thinking. Okay, so here I am meditating. And maybe after 1 or 2 seconds, in comes a thought. You've got so many emails. And I'm the meditator and say, no, mustn't think. Go away. So I'm just pushing my thought away. Got to make that phone call. No, mustn't think. Mustn't think. Go away. Hope it's not going to rain tomorrow. I'm going out. No, mustn't think. Go away. So you're just suppressing your thoughts and you're pushing them away. Now, does that look relaxed, what I'm doing? No. So I'm fighting my mind. My mind is thinking and I'm going, no, go away, go away. Poor little monkey. I'm pushing against the monkey and I'm suppressing. So that's one thing that we do. And that's not going to be a great outcome because there's a lot of tension and you're just fighting your mind. Okay, so the other thing that you may find happens from time to time, if you're like me, is you're meditating. Here comes a thought. I wonder what's going to happen next in that TV series I'm watching. God, so good, isn't it? So interesting. And yeah, they were in Sarajevo yesterday and there's all these amazing people. And I wonder where they're going to be now. I know they're going to Norway. That's going to be amazing. And then there's that other episode where they're in Canada. Oh, it's going to be so good. I really want to watch that. And you just get swept away by the thought. So I was supposed to be meditating, being with my breath and my body, being present. And I've just got completely lost in thinking about this TV program. And I've gone completely into the future. And I'm already out of the room and I'm watching this next series on Canada. Yeah. So we've got the two responses here, neither of which are ideal. One of which is to push away and the other which is to kind of just get completely lost in the thought. So I am just the thought and I've got completely carried away. Yeah. So those are the two not so great responses. And what we're trying to do in meditation, and we're going to have a go at this in a minute, is to, in a sense, have, the thoughts are passing through like mental events, just like clouds passing across the sky. So I'm still having my thoughts, but me as the meditator, I've got perspective and I let them come and I let them go and I let them come and I let them go. So here we go. Oh, I've got so many emails. Hello, thought. Thank you, thought. Goodbye. Wonder what's for dinner. Ah, hello, thought. Thank you, thought. Goodbye. Got so much packing to do. I'm going away on Sunday. Oh, hello, thought. Thank you, thought. Goodbye. Where should I go on holiday? I'd like to go somewhere warm. Ah, hello, thought. Thank you, thought. Goodbye. So I'm here as the meditator. I'm staying very stable and grounded. I wasn't being thrown around by the thoughts. I'm not pushing away, and neither am I completely kind of lost in the thought. So the thoughts come in, the thoughts pass away. So thinking about Amoga Vajra's example of the car going past. Wonder if it's a white car or a blue car. Wonder where it's going. Ah, thinking. Goodbye. Come back to the body. Come back to the breath. Got so much packing to do. Oh my God, I've got to remember all these things. Okay, not now. Thank you. Goodbye. One of the things I say to myself sometimes when I get really caught up in my thoughts is I say, not now, Vidyamala, which I find very helpful. I say it with a lot of tenderness. Not now, Vidyamala. I can make my list later. Don't need to do it right now. So this is a nice prop, the little monkey mind. So another prop is, here's the meditator. Nice little Mexican doll. So this is the mind, the meditator, your clear awareness. This is thoughts. This is a bowl of thoughts. And what often happens is we get lost in the thoughts. So there's no perspective. We're in the soup, in the thought soup. And then at a certain point you think, oh, I'm completely lost. And you sort of just begin to get your head above the edge. I'm thinking. Let me step out of that thought and have perspective on that thought. So the thought's still there, but you've got perspective rather than being in the washing machine of the thoughts. Often it feels like the spin cycle, doesn't it? Do you have washing machines that spin in America? I'm sure you do. Going round and round. So, oh, look, I'm thinking. I'm lost in my thoughts. Let me step out of the thought and have perspective. And that's very, very transformative and liberating to realize that we do not have to be completely dominated by the content of our thinking mind. And a lot of what we're thinking is not true. A lot of what we're thinking isn't true. As I say, it's this sort of negative, repetitive nonsense that just goes round and round. So we can step out of that and be more balanced. Okay, let's have a go. Let's do a watching our thoughts meditation now. So let's just begin to settle again. If you need to move a little bit in any way to adjust your posture to be a little bit more comfortable, then please do so. Good. Okay, so let's again let the body settle into stillness. Having the hands supported so the shoulders can rest down. Letting the jaw be soft and the face soft and the eyes soft. And we're breathing wherever in the body is most comfortable for you. Megavajra talked about the belly and Liz talked about the tip of the nose. It might be the back of the body. And then becoming curious about our thoughts, any associated emotions. So let them come, let them go. And then always anchoring ourselves back in breathing in the body. So this middle way between pushing our thoughts away on the one hand and getting carried away by our thoughts on the other. We notice, thinking about going away. Hello thought, thank you thought, goodbye. Let me come back to breath and the body. We're learning how to notice our thoughts without immediately judging them. It's normal to think. Every time you notice we're getting carried away, in the noticing, we're being mindful. And we can choose to unhook from that thought and come back to breath and the body. This is the training. Get completely lost. When you notice you're lost, you're present. You're succeeding. And regrouping back in the present, in the body, in the breath. Always letting go of harsh value, judgment. Okay, so let's open the eyes. Moving the body if you want to. Noticing any thoughts about the end of the meditation. You might be thinking, thank goodness it's over. Or you might be thinking, oh no, I wish it went on longer. And they're just thoughts. Okay, so does anyone want to share what you noticed then? I could just say something myself, actually, that we're getting our bathroom tiled quite soon. And at one point I caught myself being completely lost in what sort of tiles to get. It was so interesting. I was like, oh, I was really in the future in these tiles. But then I just noticed it. I thought, oh, there you are, you're thinking. And I just came back to the breath and the body and just dropped it. It's very interesting. We can sort of train ourselves so it's easier to drop these sort of compulsive thoughts. I was rehearsing having conversations with the plumber and everything. It was really quite detailed. But that conversation will come along in its own time. I don't really need to rehearse that particular conversation.
I was bringing myself back to my garden on my back patio, which I had to uproot. It's all dead now, but I don't want to let it go. So I went there in my mind, and I could almost like feel myself floating out there.
Is that pleasant?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I heard your voice and it's like, oh, I got to come back now.
Yeah. So again, that's a good example where, you know, the main way I'm talking about thoughts tonight is to let go of either suppressing them or getting swept away. But there are some other thoughts that are really good to go with.
Yeah, so that felt good.
Yeah, so you brought something into your mind and it was very pleasant and very, you were floating. So then with mindfulness, you think, oh, this is really pleasant. I'm going to really stay there. And I'm going to allow that to build in my mind. So very good. Yeah. Did you have any other thoughts about anything else?
No, I wanted to be there because it's turning cold. It's going to be snowy. It's going to be icky. I want to hang on to those kind of thoughts as long as I can.
Yeah. So again, that's exemplifying mindfulness, and that you had choice. You were able to choose what you did with your mind rather than just being propelled all over the place by a mind that's not at your service. I often say that mindfulness is about training our minds to work with us rather than against us. Yeah. So again, that's a really good example. Your mind was working with you helpfully there. Yeah, good.
Well, I was having a bunch of questions that I had, which is something that, you know, the usefulness of our minds can be problem solving in a moment when a problem needs to be solved. And I did not need to solve a problem while sitting and doing this, but I couldn't stop questions that I had. And then I want to write them down and I don't want to forget. And then suddenly I'm off doing that. And anyhow, I have not forgotten my question for you, but I only want to ask that once everyone has had a chance to speak to this.
I can see a couple of people have joined us actually during that meditation. So Ron, you've joined us. Nice to see you again.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I got hung up on a call with someone.
That's fine. Yeah.
I mean, I realize you record these, and I'm going to ask the question that, is it possible to go back and watch this again? Are they on the website?
Yes, they will be on our YouTube channel, and I will send out. You should have gotten, if you haven't gotten emails about recordings, please go look in your junk or spam folders to get the emails about this and the recordings. But there are 2 recordings now, and this one will go up, you know, when I'm able to, in a couple of days. Usually it happens on Saturday because that's when I have time to do it.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
I'm not sure that I'm looking at this the right way, but I think I will try to keep my mind just blank from thinking anything. So is this suppressing the thought, which I shouldn't be doing? You know, I was saying constantly, relax. And, you know, my mind to start going in one avenue and then I'll relax, bring it back. And so maybe I'm not looking at it correctly.
No, so I'm having a little bit of trouble with your accent. So I'll do my best to just correct me if I get it wrong. So you're saying that when your mind goes off on an avenue, then you'll say, I'll just relax and come back. Is that right?
Yes, I say relax, don't do this. Get your mind blank.
Okay, so, and did that work for you? Did your mind go blank?
Yes, I could do that some, as far as like going to sleep. You know, if you wake up in the middle of the night, and sometimes if you got something going big the next day, then you will think about that. But then I will, you know, tell myself, you know, relax, and try not to think about it. And then I will doze back off.
So you're a natural mindfulness practitioner, because a lot of people, you know, if they say relax and try not to think, it doesn't work. You know, the thoughts will just bounce back in. like a boomerang. So that's really good. But also what's interesting is even the thought, relax, relax, is a thought. So you're having this thought, relax, relax, and then that's helping the mind calm down. So you're bringing in a helpful thought, and you're coming back to the body. So that's the training. You're coming back to just being present. So that's another thing we can do. We can sort of, what you're doing is you're introducing a thought with an intention. And the intention is, I want to relax and I want to let go of worrying about this thing tomorrow, say in the middle of the night. And you're using this word relax, relax to help you do that. So that is definitely mindfulness training. I think suppression is where you've got a thought coming in and you're going, no, you mustn't think that. And you're sort of pushing against it. Did you have a sense of that today, or was your mind naturally calming down?
Not today, but I know exactly what you're saying on that. Yes. This will come in as the don't want to think about it, don't want to think about it.
Yeah. And certainly my own experience, when I say don't want to think about it, I'll definitely find myself thinking about that thing. Do you? So it seems to reinforce the thought when we think you mustn't think about it. I think there's a famous story about don't think of pink elephants or something. I can't remember the actual story. I don't know if anyone knows it. And then all you do is think of pink elephants because you're telling yourself not to. So we're trying to get out of that mode of pushing against the thoughts because they'll just come back in. But if you can have the sense of, let me just think about relaxing, have this intention of relaxing, come back to the body, come back to the moment, and that works, that's brilliant, which it sounds like it does for you. You are able to sort of calm the mind like that. And what was your actual experience? What was the experience of on your emotions, say, by doing that, by calming just then?
It's like I'm in space. There's nothing,
Okay.
not any thoughts other than relax, 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 which you're saying is another thought. But I mean, I always thought of meditation. I can meditate because I'm going to think about a million things, which I generally do. But with what you're telling me, and of course I'm concentrating on that with the thought process. What is she telling me? And so anyway, I guess I get a little bit lost in it.
Yeah, I'm really sorry, but I'm struggling a little bit with your accent. So Liz, can you help me out here? This is me being English and New Zealand English, and
well,
so
I think that it's not, what he's talking about is not too terribly unusual, but it is, as you've said, sort of a natural affinity in a way for noticing. I think, Sam, you may just never have thought, oh, when I meditate, what I'm going to do is what I always do, and that is to notice that I'm thinking and direct myself back to something other than that thought. And to me, the relax, relax is a bit like a mantra, which is something I use too when the breath or the body is too subtle or the thought is too strong. When the thought's really powerful and you can't get out of it, to find something that works to interrupt an unuseful thought pattern, and be able to be just here and now. You're not back where that thing happened, and you're not in the future where you're going to have that conversation about the tile. You're here. And anyhow, I don't know that I helped interpret Sam, but that's my take on it. And then I wonder if I think it would be useful, Vidyamala, to draw this to the topic of pain. That is, we cause ourselves pain with these thoughts. I mean, just to put a pin on it, and many of us have thoughts about the pain we're experiencing, and there is usefulness to finding a gap between the thought of it and the experience of it. At least that's what I think you're saying, and maybe you can say it better.
Yeah, definitely. So in terms of the pain, very often, we've got the pain in the body that we may or may not be letting into awareness. And if we're not letting into awareness, we've probably got a lot of tension. We're pushing it down. We're very tense, as we looked at last week. So you become a bit more sort of honest with yourself about what's going on right now. Like the clenched jaw that Julie talked about, you become a bit more honest about it. And then you become aware that you're having lots of thoughts about the pain. That's what we do, isn't it? We have lots of thoughts about the pain. It's killing me. I can't bear it. It's too much. I'm going to have it forever. I've had it forever. It's not fair. All kinds of thoughts will emerge. That's completely normal. It's what happens. But we can learn. And when that's happening, we're like this. We've got all these thoughts and we're consumed by the thoughts. But at a certain point, we can raise our head a little bit and think, I'm having all these thoughts about my pain. I don't need to believe these thoughts. I don't need to get lost in these thoughts. I can step out of these thoughts. They're still here, maybe. It's too much. I can't bear it. It's really hard. But we've got a bit of space. So this is overwhelm. We've got a bit of space. And we can be aware, I've got my pain, I've got my thoughts about my pain, but I can bring some space. And then what I'm going to do is just keep coming back to the moment, come back to my body and my breath in the moment, and just take it one moment at a time. So we're unhooking. So that's what this is. This is a demonstration of unhooking, from being completely lost in something to unhooking and just taking it one moment at a time. And in my own experience and the many, many people I've taught, it's often the thoughts and the emotions about the pain that are more distressing than the pain itself. I don't know if people can relate to that. It's the sort of escalation in the mind that can, and what happens, of course, is it amplifies the pain perception, because we're getting more and more and more tight and tense, holding our breath, all the things I talked about last week. And our pain perception then increases, and then the thoughts get more difficult, and we're more and more, just lost in the experience. So we're just learning how to bring some space around it and to separate out a bit our awareness from all the thoughts about the experience. But in terms of what you were saying, Sam, if it works to go relax, and then because you're saying that you will be relaxing, then that will be another way of dialing down the pain perception. Because as soon as we soften and relax a little bit, then that brings online the part of the nervous system, which is to do with calm, to do with soothing. Our pain perception will reduce. And again, Beth was saying that earlier on about the COVID jab. By doing that breathing meditation, the pain lessened a bit. I think you were saying that, weren't you, Beth? Yeah. So what we're trying to do is just dial everything down. And when we're really tangled up with our thoughts and it's all a big knot, very often then that escalates the pain perception. And I think, Julie, you were talking about that as well last week, weren't you, with the breathing meditation? So I'm still not sure if I've helped Sam, but I hope that's helpful. And in some ways, if you've got a strategy of relax, and that really works to calm the mind, then that's brilliant.
I was in a nursing home where they had a COVID pond, koi fish, and I think they had 11 of them. There used to be 12, but one got stolen. People steal koi fish. They're very expensive. Anyway, when I meditate, sometimes I just like to picture those koi fish. I actually feel like going there sometimes, but I don't think they want people to visit nursing home now. But just I love looking at them, but I can picture them in my head. And when I was there,
brilliant.
Picturing my cat. Yeah. I have a cat, and I would picture her a lot of times. I always think about either the koi fish or my cat. It makes me.
Yeah.
Better.
So what you're demonstrating there, it's a bit like what Julie was saying, which was picturing herself out in her backyard. that you're introducing a soothing thought. And again, Sam's saying the same thing. You're introducing a soothing
thought. And that's what made me think of it when she was talking about her yard. I thought, oh, she feels about the plants and things the way I feel about animals.
Yeah.
Plants
and
are
the,
nice
and the
food.
movement of fish, it's very kind of smooth, soothing kind of image. It's watery. It's not jagged and hard.
Visit them, they come to you because they think you might give them something.
Yeah. Yeah, good.
I wanted
so we
to
got
I don't want to interrupt anybody. I'm mindful of the time, but I wanted to ask you if you could, and maybe we'll do this offline, a little bit of, I don't want to call it homework, but a practice like that we could do when we're not in the midst of this, maybe a 5-minute meditation. Maybe you could give me like a little formula and I can email it out and each of us can try a 5 or 10-minute meditation where we're introducing maybe some of the breathing, and then we'll notice the thoughts, and maybe we could even report back. And
good. So what I'll do is I'll send you, I've got a 10-minute recording of a breathing anchor meditation, which is exactly this. So we're anchoring ourselves back in the breathing. Every time we notice we're swept away by our thoughts, we come back to the breathing. So I'll send you that, Liz, and then you can send it out, and then we could report back next week. That's a really great idea. How did we get on with the homework? Homework's always good. Because like everything in life, the more you put in, the more you get out. I'm afraid that is the truth.
And I believe in homework. I used to be a teacher and I believe in homework. I got in trouble in one class that I took recently, in adult education class. She said, do you think you have any suggestions for next semester? I said, I think we need a book and homework. And everybody was mad at me, including the teacher. But how else are you going to learn if you don't have a book?
Exactly.
A Spanish class with no book, no homework, only once a week for 13 weeks. And then they give you a really impressive diploma. And I couldn't even say hello by the end of it.
Yeah, and on our 8-week courses, we get people to practice 6 days out of 7 for 8 weeks. For practice. So I'll send you that immediately, Liz, and then you can forward it on to people.
Wonderful. And I know there are people who couldn't be here today, so they can be included in that and see what their experience is.
Good.
Wonderful.
Excellent.
Well,
Excellent.
thank you. Thank you. It's been wonderful. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks for coming again, Amogavajra. You won't be here next week, will you? Because you're away.
No, I'll be away, unfortunately. But thanks. It's great to meet you all, and good luck with your mindfulness. It does work. So take a bit of bed. 5 minutes.